Alright, this is the project we're doing on this video. I named him Pierre Noel, Santa Claus. Look at those eyes. Look how they just look right at you. This was so much fun. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. Let's get started. Okay, so I've got my surface base coated here with lamp black, a couple of coats, prepped with multi-purpose sealer first, and then applied 2 coats of lamp black. 1 coat of multi-purpose sealer is all you really need to do. And I've transferred just the kind of outline of Santa's head here, and I want to make a dark gray. Now this is slate gray, and it is in our palette list, so you could take it and add a little bit of black to it to get it a little bit darker gray. Or you can mix black and white together and get a dark gray as well. That's pretty dark. So, and now that's too light. So, either way, I think in my instructions I have to mix white and black together to get a dark gray. I just want a dark gray for this to be subtle in the background. I'm going to stencil on it, and I want it to be subtle in the background. I don't want it to be really bright on there. Okay, so I have created a word stencil with Santa names on it, and I'm just going to put this over here at the side and kind of line it up, and I'm just going to stencil straight down this side over here and not worry about stenciling on, you're getting my lights in there, not worry about stenciling on Santa's head. So my stencils are clear because I like to see my pattern underneath it. Some of the other stencils that are not clear, I have a hard time telling where my lines are, so that's why I make mine clear. Now I'm taking a fingertip dauber and I am dampening it in some water, taking the excess off on my paper towel, and I'm going to go into that mix that we made, that dark gray, and I'm just going to tap it onto my fingertip dauber, kind of work it in there. I'm working on a second camera. I've got everything for it. I've just got to get it hooked up, a second camera, so I can have a camera shot just for my palette. So I'm kind of going off the top there, which would be okay. So I'm just going to tap this, and I think I want it to be just a little bit darker, so I'm going to get some more black and mix that in. I want it to be more subtle than that. I want it that's too subtle. That's about as subtle as I'm going to get it there. And you don't have to do perfect coverage. I'm going to not go into where my pattern lines are. I'm going to try and stay out just in this area out here. You could put snowflakes back here on this area if you want, swirls, whatever you like, you can add to this with no problem. So just a straight up and down pouncing. I'm going to have to mix a little bit more here. I'm going to off pounce on my plate there because okay, I'm going to lift straight up, and we can see all of those names that we call Santa Claus right over there on that edge. Now take your fingertip dauber to your sink and clean it fairly quickly, just with cool water, and hand sanitizer is all you need. And then this, all you need on it is hand sanitizer as well. Take a very soft toothbrush and squirt some hand sanitizer on here and kind of rub it on and let it set for about 30 seconds is all you need. And then take the toothbrush and gently clean it off, and you're going to be good with your stencil. Hand sanitizer is really all you need to clean them. They don't require anything more than that. I've had paint on my stencils for years and taken the hand sanitizer and it came right off. Okay, so I am going to undercoat my hat with gray sky, and then I'll come back. I'm going to mix a color for the face, for the undercoat of the face. So I'll come back and show you how to do that. But I'm going to go and get this undercoated with the gray sky first. Okay, so I've got my coat of gray on for the hat. That's our undercoating. So for the face, we also want to undercoat it. And we're going to take our gray sky and our warm beige, which warm beige used to be flesh tone, so if you have flesh tone, an old bottle, that's what it will say. So I want to mix equal amounts of this because the flesh colors tend to be a little bit transparent, so we're going to put some gray in with it. This is our undercoat here. And we're just going to base in all of the face with this color. And then when we come back, we'll apply just the flesh tone color. Need just a touch more gray in here. So I'm going to bring it down farther than what I normally would. This is where the mouth is here, so I'm going to bring it down past the mouth just in case we see a little, and just kind of let it just kind of go away. Okay, so we see a little flesh underneath the beard and stuff. Okay, so that's how we're going to paint the face in with our undercoat. And then we'll come back when this is dry and we will base coat in our hat with 2 coats of Tuscan red. Now, if you're wondering, if you've never watched any of my videos and you're wondering why is it that I undercoat my red with gray, well, you can undercoat it with many colors. You can undercoat it with orange. You can undercoat it with green. You don't really want to do white. But the reason that I use gray is because I used to paint murals. And I found that if I undercoated with a light to medium gray, it gave me the true color of red, because reds can tend to be a little bit more transparent. They require more coats to get a really good coverage and color. So if you undercoat it with the gray, then it will give you the true color of the red, plus it will take less coats. Now, you could do like I did with the face color. You could mix some red in with the gray and use that as your first coat, and then come back with a second coat of your red. But if it still looks like it's not the color that you want, you still may have to apply a third coat. So I just do it this way just to eliminate any chances of me not getting it the color that I want. So that's why I do it. So I'm going to go off camera and get 2 coats of Tuscan red on here and get this dry and get 2 coats of warm beige, also known as flesh tone, onto my face. Alright, got my base coats on, and I transferred lightly the facial features. The eyes are a little bit darker just so you can see them, but the nose and everything else is a little bit light. So we're going to work on the eyes first. And I didn't, let me get my pencil here. I didn't transfer all my lines here. There are the eye itself here. Okay, then we have the iris of the eye. And then we'll have the pupil up in here. I'm not going to worry about putting the pupil in yet. So I'm going to zoom you in so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So for the white part of the eye, we're going to mix Snow White and a little bit of turquoise blue, because the white part of your eye is not technically white. just think that it's white. So, too much water in my brush here, so. I'm just mixing some blue in my white. That's way too blue. So I want it to be lighter, so I'm going to keep adding some white till I get just the palest tint of blue in there. So that's probably pretty good right there. And we're going to base in this area of the eye. Now, the reason you don't want your pencil lines, now you could fill in the whole eye and then come back and add the pattern line for the iris. But the reason you don't want really dark lines is because you'll have to make sure you cover them up with paint. I'm going to take some of that's more blue in it and put it out here and here. I'm going to add some other colors in there. This one's a little big here, so I'm going to kind of make it a little smaller. And I can come in and erase that line afterwards. I really hope you were on camera for that, because I didn't look up one time to see if you were on camera. So I really hope you were there. Alright. I'm going to put a quick second coat on here. This is with that white with a little bit of blue in it. And then a little bit more blue on these outer areas. We're actually going to put some probably pink in there. Let's get some of our deep blush out, which is Shading Flesh. And we're going to mix a little bit of this, I get it open, with our turquoise blue. I'm going to erase some lines here first. This line that goes way up there. Erase this one. Make sure if you're erasing anything, you brush away from your paint. You don't want the stuff getting in your paint. So I'm going to mix. I'm going to apply this to the inside corner of the eye. It's going to be the blue and this blush color. Probably more on the blushy side. And in my instructions, this does not say to add some white, but I'm going to add a little bit of white in there. Because we're just kind of going to tap this in the corner there. We don't want it to be the same color as our skin. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, mix that with whatever's on my brush, and tap that. Distracting me. Alright. The paint's already dried on my brush, so I'm kind of need to see the separation of where the eye and the part that's not the eye is. I'm just picking up a little bit of white so I can blend it kind of with that paint that's there. Okay, I'm going to get my base coat color here. I need to reshape a little bit of this eye. So if you get your eye where the shape that you don't like, this is just a little bit too out there for me. Touch up on this one. This is just our base color on our face. Warm beige or flesh tone it used to be called. Okay, let's fill in his eye. It's turquoise blue. I did not mix this with anything. I just did straight turquoise blue. And we'll put 2 coats on here. Don't quite look shaped the same here. Nobody's eyes are shaped exactly the same. This one's got too much of an arch on it under here. It's kind of bugging me. This eye I made more straight, this eye I made more arched. So I'm going to kind of straighten this one up. And touch up with my blue. Bring it down. That helps a little bit. Now I need to let it get dry and then I'm going to apply a second coat. Okay, let's add the pupil in here. So if you need to, grab your pencil. Draw a circle there. Kind of messed up the shape of this eye, so let me reshape it here. Okay, let's put his pupil in, then his eyes will look a little bit better. Just with black. Let's see. Bigger, I think. Okay, then once you get the pupil in, if your pupils are pretty much the same size, you can kind of tell where you might need to adjust for the eye. So like this eye comes up a little bit tighter here, so I'm going to bring, oops, not right there, just on this upper corner here. I'm going to take a little bit of that off, make it a little bit more like that one, and I'll do the same thing over here. Trying to get them more shaped the same. We also want to try and have the same amount of blue around the eye if we can. they make circle templates things, circle, that you can buy. And you could use that to draw your circle in. Okay, so that's kind of got our base coats in for our eyes there. Okay. Alright, let's take some ultramarine blue and mix a little bit of turquoise blue with it. Just a little bit. Now this is an optional step. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. I'm not even sure it's in my instructions. Yeah, it's in there somewhere. And I'm going to go ahead and do it now. I'm just going to pull some lines out around the eye. Just a little bit more. Just pulling some lines. This is ultramarine blue and turquoise mixed together. Not really measuring, just dipping and mixing. Get a little water on my brush so it can come off the tip. Okay, we'll have to touch those pupils up again, so don't worry about getting paint on them. I'm going to take a little bit of white. I think this particular step might be down a little bit farther. I have to read my instructions, see if this is even on there. It may not be on there because, you know, this is optional if you want to add a little bit of strokes into the eyes. Just little kind of dibby dabs there. Nothing technical or very serious about that. I'm gonna have to shape this pupil here because it's kind of bugging me. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, here we go. We are going to shade on the bottom of the eye with ultramarine blue, and then we're going to deepen it by adding a little bit of lamp black. So let me get a small angled brush. Or you can go with a flat one. There it is. No, I had one, just couldn't find it. Okay, this is a 1/4 inch angle brush. So ultramarine blue is pretty sheer color, but I want to make sure that it absolutely stays sheer on my brush. So let me get my misting bottle. I've got water on this side of my palette, but I'm going to put a little bit more on there. And I'm going to work this paint in my brush until it shows pretty sheer. It'll work into the brush. See how it's lightening on my palette? Because it's working up into the brush, and it's going to be a pretty sheer little float. So we are going to go along the bottom of the entire eye. I'm going to get some water. Tiny bit more paint on my brush here. And go around the bottom of this eye. Okay, now I'm going to take that little bit of blue, I'm going to add a little bit more blue to it. And when we add the black, I'm going to I'm going to dip into my black. I've got just a teeny tiny little bit on my tip of my brush, but that's still going to be way too much. So I'm going to unload the black over there. And see, it's still too much black, so I'm going to wipe off of my palette, pick up water, pick up a little bit of blue paint. And now I'm going to work that together. We want this to be a very tight float, very narrow float, but we have to have the water to make it soft. So we're going to go back along the bottom of the eye. take the water edge of my brush to kind of smooth and soften. Pity pat it with my finger. Do the same thing over here. Down camera. On the bottom. Up this side. Water edge. I'm going to remove some and soften and pity pat it with my finger. Okay, this eye is quite a bit darker. I'm just going to dampen it and tap it with my finger to remove some. Okay. Alright, now under the upper lid, we're going to shade. We're going to take some of that black, just a tiny bit. We're going to work it into our brush just like we did that blue to get it a nice sheer little float. Have a little bit of water in your brush. Touch your palette if you feel like you've got too much. This actually says to add some turquoise blue to it, so I will follow my directions so that everything matches. And we're going to go up underneath this lid. The bottom float a little bit too wide. I'm really up on the toe here, almost outlining that lid, and then taking the water edge and kind of smoothing it out. Okay, we're going to do that again, and with just black. Let's see. Okay, so I stopped and read my instructions so I could get it right. On the bottom of the eye here, I knew it needed to look a little more peachy, not quite so blue. So we're going to shade with a little bit of deep blush, with a little bit of, you don't have to go over the eye part. We want to keep it more in the white actually. Deep blush and a little bit of turquoise blue. I'm going to take my ultramarine blue and go around the bottom of the eye, just a float of this color. Let's get a little bit of the that blush color, working into my brush. I really need the eye to be a little bit more pink. I think I might have to add some of my white back in here. Okay, underneath the very top lid, we're going to use ultramarine blue and black again. Keep this very sheer, very thin. Never fails when I have you zoomed in. I tend to get you off camera, so sorry about that. Alright, I'm going to touch up my black here. I think I'm going to take a little bit of my white and that blue. mixture, mostly white, with just a tiny little bit of blue. I'm going to tap some of that in here. Try and stay off my eyeball. Just need a little brightness right here on the whites of the eye. Okay, highlight in the eye. Couldn't find my liner brush, I just put it up. Let's see, highlight. I'm sure it's just white. So I'm going to put a white dot in the eye right here. Here. I'd like to put those white lines back in the eye. Thin my paint down here, it's not want to come off my brush. Teeny tiny little feather strokes, but you gotta have your paint really thin here. You're up like on one little hair of that brush. Okay, I'm gonna add some ultramarine blue ones just at the bottom where we shaded with that color. A little bit of our flesh color back in here. And I want to put a little bit of that flesh color in on the bottom of the eye. They really need to be more fleshy colored. Stay off the blue because we've already fixed those and we don't want to fix them again. Put the ultramarine blue back on the bottom just in case we, you know, kind of got carried away there. Okay, I want to do the underneath the eyelid again. A little bit more black in the mix this time. Black and ultramarine blue. Okay, his eyes are looking pretty good. Before we outline them, let's shade underneath the eyelid here. The eyelid fold, I guess it would be called. And we'll do that with some of that deep blush right underneath here. A little bit too much paint, so just get a little water and wipe that off. Blend that out because that was gobs more paint than what I wanted. Okay, erase that line that I didn't use there. If you get paint on the line, it's just there because you can't take it away once the line has some paint on it. I want to tone this down with a little bit of our base color. I have just a tiny bit on my brush, just to kind of tone that down. Okay, his eyes are looking pretty good. Next we are going to get our black. We're going to get our black and thin it down. We want to thin it down to inky consistency, so that means just adding water, pulling some paint out and adding water to it until it's like the consistency of ink. You want a fine detail liner for doing this next step. I have a long brush, but you can use a short one, just as long as you can get nice fine lines with it. We want to line the top of the eye. I've got something on the end of my brush. So let me reload it here. I think because the hairs, there's not very many bristles on this brush, sometimes the paint dries on the very tip of it. Okay, so we're going to line the outside of the eye, the top of the eye. Wanting to flow, and I'm like, why am I not flowing? This is where our eyelashes are going to sit. Maybe just a tad too much paint on the tip. Okay, whoa. I'm going to wipe most of that paint off because we want to outline the whole eye. This is the scary part for people. So you can use put a little bit of black down in there. You can use a very fine marker. It has to be a waterproof marker. Want it to be as thick of a line as we did on the top. And they're not shaped the same. So this one I don't like it being pointy like that because an eye would not be pointy. It just wouldn't be. Oops. So one bristle of the brush. Oh, that one still is not, I'm not happy with it. This one. Maybe my paint was just too dark there. Okay. I'm going to tap some more white back in there because I just feel like the eye needs a little bit more of the white with the turquoise blue mix. Just in there, kind of brighten it. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that blush color on my brush with some white. Brush out again. I want to go back to the white. Now when you're thinning your light colors, use your clean water. Okay, I want more highlights in the eye. I'm going to add a little highlight down here. I'm just kind of tapping it in there. A little bit of a highlight on the bottom. You can put this highlight right around the edge of the eye. Kind of gives the eye a look of having wetness, you know, not being a dry eye. Alright, we're going to add some eyelashes on here now. This might help his eyes look a little bit better. I want to make sure I've got everything above the eye where I want it. So, thin your black again. Inky consistency, make sure you have no water on your ferrule. So the eye will start at the center of the eye and these eyelashes will go up. Very delicate touch. Don't go onto the eye, then you'll start curving them this out as we go out to the edge. Okay, and the same over here. We'll start kind of paint. Curving them out this way. I have to do this fairly quickly because my ceiling fan is on and it's drying my paint very quickly. Okay, straight up from the middle, and you'll start curving them the direction of that you're going down. Very fine hairs here. These are a little finer on this side, so I might add some thicker ones on here. On the eye there, so I'll reshade that. So then this side, there we go. Then just out. Okay, then on the bottom, if you want to, you can have some teeny tiny little lashes that come off. They'll just kind of stay in the middle. Okay, so that's the eye. We're going to shade underneath the eyebrow with that deep blush. Wide angle out just a little bit. Deep blush. Whew, not too much paint there. I want you to use whatever brush you are comfortable with using. So I'm just going to pat some of this in here. Smooth it out with my finger. This is where the eyebrow will be. I'm going to get a different brush. We are going to go take that same color, that deep blush. If you feel like it's getting too dark for you, you can add the base color in. Just have a mix of the two. You can start it out a little bit light, and that way you can come back and add to it if you need to. So we're going to add some like wrinkles underneath the eye here. So I'm going to stay kind of up on the edge of the brush. And I'll use my water edge to kind of smooth out. I'm just going to create some like lines under the eye here. I'm going to have some coming off on the side. These need to stay kind of small. Okay, so just some, Santa Claus doesn't get a whole lot of rest at Christmas time, so I just want to give him a few little wrinkles under here. Okay, so that's the start of his wrinkles. We're also going to put some of these wrinkles on the top, on his forehead. So we will add, you can just kind of decide where a wrinkle will be and just kind of put some in there. His hair will cover some of them up. And down the nose here we have some bigger wrinkles. Okay, we're going to take this and really thin it down. We want to pat some of this right here in the corner of his nose. Give a shadow. We're going to come down the side of the nose very lightly. Just kind of outlining it. Keep your paint soft. And go around the whole nose. He's got a wrinkle over here, so we can create that wrinkle. Go around the side of the nose. I have a very small amount of paint on my brush. Just the smallest amounts of paint. We're going to shade, I need to get some more of this color out there. We're still working with deep blush. We're going to shade underneath the eye. Remember, working into your brush so it's sheer. If you're afraid it's going to be too dark, then just add some of your flesh tone in there with it. I want to kind of get up next to the eye there. Let me see if I can erase some. I find my eraser. Some of these lines on the nose and stuff here. I don't want to erase the nostrils yet because I haven't put those in, but I feel like this side of the nose got a little bit cattywampus. So put some flesh, some base color back in there. I need to bring the ball of his nose down a little bit more. Alright. Working into my brush so it's nice and soft. You have to have water in your brush in order to do that. So we're going to give him a little bit bigger ball on his nose down here. Shape that side of the nose a little bit better. Actually, I need the shading to be on the inside here so we can highlight on the outside. Alright, so that's pretty good for our shading there. Okay. We are going to highlight the wrinkles with a mixture of Snow White and warm beige or flesh tone. So I'm just going to dip one time into each color and blend them on my brush. I might dip 2 times into the, I say an equal mix, so we'll do an equal mix. Oops. We want to go along the tops of our wrinkles. Just going to brush mix a little bit more here. Go along the top here. And this one. We'll put some on his wrinkles, on the top edges. There. Just kind of pity patting. Let's see what color his nostril is. Okay, deep blush and lamp black is what I filled the nostrils in with. So we want a fairly dark color here. And come back and darken, but it's kind of like a comma stroke for the nostril. And over here it'll be less of one because we're not seeing as much. So that's for the nostril. We'll come back and darken that for sure. Okay, so we've added our highlights on there. You can touch up any of your shading that you need to. We're going to go down the center with that highlight. Not quite the center. It's a mix of the white and the warm beige or flesh tone. Do it back to back if you can get it in there. If not, then just one way will do. Down that side. I see some wrinkles I missed. I didn't highlight on these. I'll go back and do these. They need a little bit of brightening here. And this is where you can refine your piece. I feel like I need to bring that shading under the eyes down a little bit. His little wrinkles, like they need to come down a little bit farther. Maybe not quite that far. He looks really tired now. Poor Santa. Poor Santa isn't going to get a break on this one. Super big bags under his eyes there. Let's fill in his lip and then we'll work on his nose. His lip is Tuscan red and deep blush mixed together. So we'll get Tuscan red and we already got deep blush out. So we're just going to mix them. Kind of a nice pinky color. Whatever color you mix that you like will be perfectly fine. So this is his lip. Looks pretty funny right there right now. His mustache, I found my pencil, comes down from the center of his nose. Comes down like this, and like this, maybe a little bit farther down. Kind of meets in the middle there. So in the middle here we will have a triangle, and I filled it in with a mix of, I think, black and the red mixed together, mostly black. So it's just kind of a V that's right here, directly under the center of his nose. So I can adjust the lip now. The lip's going to be covered up, you know, with mustache hairs. So, and by the way, let me wide angle out. I did come back and add pieces of the stencil over here on this side. I felt like there was too much open space over there, so I came back and did that. He's looking pretty cute, isn't he? When you zoom out and you're not right up there on top of all his facial features. Okay, let's wide angle out just a little bit and darken his nostril just a touch. We'll go with some black in here. Okay, that's good enough for his nostril. It doesn't really need to be that dark, so we can always go in and add some, one of our flesh colors in there and kind of tone it down. It is, after all, the inside of the nostril. It's not a black hole. So, okay, the tip of the nose we're going to shade. We're going to start with some deep blush, I believe is what I used. And we'll do this for the first shading. And I'm going to stay with an angle brush here to do that. You can use a flat brush, curve flat if you have a curve flat, so the ball of his nose is right here. I'm going to kind of walk it up. I want it to really fade out on this side. Oops. Keep you on camera there. A little bit carried away with my shape here. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of that highlight, which was white, in the warm beige. On this edge of the nose. I really got this shape messed up here. So let me erase some of this paint right here. Not quite so sticking out right there. Let me reshape it. That would probably help. Here, it's a little bit of a hard line on this edge. So let me erase it. You can only do this erasing with a damp white eraser if the paint hasn't cured. Once it's cured, you're going to have to just leave it over there and leave it on there and rebase coat, because you'll just be removing all your layers of paint, and you have to rub very gently that's going to come off, so I'm going to add a little bit of our base color. Just kind of take that down. There we go, that looks much better. Okay, and now we're going to repeat the color on the end of his nose with deep blush and Tuscan red mixed together. So let's keep this kind of sheer. Let's not have too much paint on our brush. We just want to keep a nice little soft float on here. So we're just going to darken this. Pretty good. Let me go find this side of the nose a little bit more. Just right there. And we're not going to see underneath the nose here because the mustache will be there. Alright, let's add a little highlight on here. It's with our warm beige and white. Put some more white out here, I think. This. And out here on this edge. We really want his nose to be shaped nice, so I'm going to have to touch up the nostril here. Okay, one more time on the nose. We're going to go with just Tuscan red this time. Make it pretty sheer. I want it mostly on the end of the nose, right there. His cold little nose. Let me wide angle out because that will help how he looks a little bit, I think. I think on my original nose I had it a little bit more flat here. In here a little bit. This is just a little bit of a shadow right there, so we can kind of really tell where the edge of the nose is over there. That's all that's there for. Okay, he's looking pretty good, I think. Let's start giving him some eyelashes. Slate gray, or not eyelashes, eyebrows. Slate gray. We're going to do the first layer or two of his eyebrows, and that's all we'll do. We'll finish up the eyebrows when we do his beard, but just doing this little bit of eyebrow will help a lot. So we're just going to pull some strokes out to start forming the shape of his eyebrow. You don't have to be too exact or precise here. You just want to get some paint on here, because as we add our layers, we'll definitely define the eyebrow a lot more. And over here, This is just slate gray. Using a small round brush. You can use a liner brush. It's much easier for me if I can pull towards me, so that's why I have my piece turned this way. Oops. A little bit bigger. This is just kind of the undercoating right there, you know, like we would undercoat. I'm going to highlight above that upper lid. So our white and warm beige mix. So up here. Just put a little bit in there. Okay, I'm going to put the pattern on for his glasses. Hopefully I've kept everything where it needs to be. It's his eyes you really want to line up because our glasses really need to set on there properly. I'll put it on some graphite paper here. I want to make sure I have my pattern still laying where it needs to lay. Okay, and my stylus. Alright, it's missing. I'll just use this. Go over our lines, and hopefully I'm pressing hard enough with this pencil. I think I can see them okay. Alright, let's see what color we got as glasses. This is still part of the face. Slate gray. I'm just going to use a round brush. Go over my lines. Maybe a little bit of water in my paint. I'm using a small round brush here. I have a 2. You could use a 1, or you could use a liner brush. Glasses straight is key. Okay, I'm going to put a second coat on here. I have a lot of water in it. I should go to a one-liner here. This 2 is wanting to be a little bit fatter lines than what I want. this lens is not even the same size as that one. So let me erase that lens altogether. Oh, I forgot to put the blush on the cheeks. You know, I did that on my original one too. I'm not following my instructions very well for this project. Okay, I'm going to leave that lens off for a second because I forgot to put the cheeks on. And I just completely jumped right over that step. So we're going to apply the cheeks with some Tuscan Red. So I want you to get a scruffy brush, a dry one, and a dry paper towel. And your Tuscan Red. Tap it onto the end of your brush. Your dry brush, offload it onto a paper towel. Get as much of that paint off as you can, because this is some bright, bright paint. And we want to start easy peasy on this. Okay, so we're gonna start. I'm gonna go right over the glasses and repaint them in a circular, very soft motion. We're gonna bring it down to wherever we think the beard would be. We're gonna go all the way over to the hat. We'll have some hairs coming in there. Do the same over here. Very gentle pressure. Don't get too carried away here. Come all the way down because I don't really know exactly where my beard will be starting. I'm going to give a little bit more pressure because I'm starting to have less and less paint on the brush. But I want to darken the cheeks a little bit more. Okay, I think I'm going to load one more time, a little bit of paint. Offload it. Easy peasy. Oh, that's the lesson of the day. Easy, easy peasy. Very soft. Whatever you're painting on might have some rough edges and pull some of that paint anyway. So you want to make sure it's easy pressure here. And you can make your cheeks as rosy as you want. You can go ahead and add a little bit of this on the nose. Brighten it up. I think we do need to brighten his nose just a touch. Do that right now. Oh, I have red paint on me somewhere. Just on the very ball. I'm sure you can see that little hard line right there, which I do not like at all. Ooh, still got red paint on my eraser there. Okay, let me draw my glass back in over here. Okay, don't know if I can erase this without erasing my cheeks. Since it's going to be behind the glasses, it should be alright. So let me try making this lens over here again. Okay, that looks much better. Second coat down here. now's the time when you don't want to mess anything up. So it's a good thing I messed the glasses up before I did the cheeks. So I'm going to go back over these because they have the red on them now, and I need my glasses to be gray. That looks much better for the start of his glasses. Okay, let's continue on with our glasses here. We're going to highlight on our glasses. Now first I see a line I need to make darker. This one needs to be a little bit darker. Okay, so we're going to highlight on the glasses on the top. So I'm just going to kind of dot, dot, dash, dot, dot. I'll probably come back and repeat this because the white tends to fade down in there. And then along the bottom, go along this top. It was still kind of wet, so that's going to blend in there. And then dot, dot, dash. Here. Okay, I will definitely repeat that. We're going to add a little shading while that dries. And lamp black. So I'm just going to take my brush and pull some of this lamp black here and down here. This is kind of some shading. A little bit back here going into the hair. Just kind of let it kind of feather away. Every place there's like a joint, I guess, would be in the glasses. Fresh paint was going to work best for this, so if you don't have fresh paint out, you need to get fresh paint out. Down a little bit. Okay, that's the black. Let's go back and redo our highlight because it's already faded down in there. So a couple of dots and dashes. And you can paint your glasses with metallic paint if you want them to have a little bit more metallic look to them. Still feel like I'm losing kind of my very bright highlight. Okay, that looks much better. Now we're going to make it look like there's lenses in there by taking a small flat brush or a round brush, a filbert brush, any kind of brush will do. I like to use the flat ones, but I'm going to get me, let's see, if I can find one. I have like a chisel brush. Ooh, it's kind of big. I'll see if I've got a smaller one. Actually, I might go with a filbert brush, I think. Okay, so we're just going to use it dry. Actually, I'm going to dampen it because I think it will work better if we dampen it. Okay, but get the moisture out of your brush so the bristles are just barely damp. I loaded it with some white paint. I'm going to offload it onto my paper towel. And then at an angle, we're just going to streak this across our lenses. Pick up paint, both sides of the brush, wipe it off, and then just kind of drag it in the center here. Now we're going to pick up a little bit more, offload a little bit of it, and we're going to go up on the chisel edge of the brush. And we're going to just streak some little bit bigger streaks in there. And we'll kind of zoom in there, kind of make them look like there are some lenses on there. Okay, wide angle out. I think on his nose here we need to paint's drying up. I need to get new paint out. This is that deep blush. I feel like the outside edge here needs a little bit of shading. Okay, so you can go in and just touch up and, whew, that's a little dark. Redefine anything that you need. Anything you feel needs some. My paint's really dry. Time to turn the fan off, I think. Okay, we're going to finish his lip up, and we're going to go work on the hat, I think. Okay, let me get some more Tuscan Red out here. We are going to finish up the mouth, then go work on the hat. So Tuscan Red we're going to need, and let's see, a little tiny bit of lamp black. So when you mix these together, we'll take our Tuscan Red. I dip into my black. I think I may have already showed you this. I offload my black, and then I come here and see if it's enough left on my brush. If not, then I will get a little bit more, offload it, and blend it. See, that's way too much black. So I'm going to go wipe the tip of my brush on my paper towel to remove a lot of that black, and go back into my red and mix it in. So there we have a very nice dark burgundy-like color. I don't want you to have to get a lot of colors out. We have deep burgundy in our list of colors, but we already have the Tuscan Red on our palette, so we'll just use it. And we're just going to shade on each side of the mouth. A little gap there in the center. So this is where the opening of the mouth is, so we know that's where the corners of the mouth will be. Okay. Then we can repeat it. We're going to highlight down the center of the lip with a back-to-back float of equal amounts of warm beige and white. Get some fresh fresh paint out here. So just dip once into each of those colors and then blend them right on your brush. We're going to go down. I need water. So I'm wanting to move. Go down this edge. Flip it over. We're going down the very center of the lip here. Flip it over and go right beside that. And I will mop that a little bit. Oops. And take a little bit of the Tuscan red and kind of outline the upper part of the lip here. So I think the center of his lip here, I'm going to darken that a little bit. Or widen it, I guess I should say. Make it come out even with that. And then kind of clean it up here. So we can get his lip shaped nicely. I know it looks kind of weird with that sticking out there, but there, just see it that way, because that will help a lot more. Okay, we're going to get ready to work on the hat now. Alright, before we move on to the hat, let's shade along around the face with our deep blush. Very soft, gentle float here. Takes care of all that until we can start on the hair. Alright, let's wide angle out. We're going to start working on the hat. So, we're going to shade with deep burgundy on the left side, I say, of all the wrinkles. Deepen that here in a minute. So whatever brush you're going to float with, load it up. So just in case you don't know how I load for floating, I have water in my brush. I wake my brushes up with water. You have to wake them up. You can't use them dry or with a tiny bit of water in here. Then I dip it the toe or one corner of the brush, depending on what kind of brush you're using, into the paint, and then I work it in back and forth like this. I've got a little bit too much water, so I'm going to go lay my brush on my on my napkin, my paper towel, to let the water wick out of it. And I'll just come right back here, because I need water in my brush. I just didn't need that much water. Right back here and load it up. Alright, I say on the left sides, so I'm going to turn this around so it's upside down to you. And I've got a wrinkle here. Now this first color, we probably won't see a whole lot of it, but it's going to give us a nice guideline. And then here. It's going to water on my brush here. And then this is kind of folded here around the head, so we'll just kind of go around it too. And we'll put some of this on the outer edge here. Here where it kind of just forms around the head there. So can you kind of see where I've put those shadings. So my hat is not going to have any fur on it like a typical Santa hat would have. I'm going to put a wreath of holly leaves and berries on his head. But if you prefer to have fur on there when we do the ball, you could do what we do to the ball up here around the head, you know, on the edge of the hat, and leave the holly off. That's totally up to you. Okay, so let's darken that float, and I'm going to bring my original one over here and show you a couple of things on it. So let me wide angle out because it's a very large piece. This is my original one that I painted for me, and then I decided to do a smaller version so I could do a video lesson with it. But this piece here, I did some paper on it, decoupage some paper on it, and I use asphaltum to antique it. So in my instructions it says to shade, the next shading would be to mix the deep burgundy with asphaltum. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of black because on mine here we won't be using any asphaltum, but on this one we did. So this one is completely different. I'll have a picture of this one, I think, in my instructions in case somebody wants to do it. The instructions are there for the paper if you want to do the paper. The instructions are there for the snowflakes. I have wooden snowflakes and polymer clay snowflakes. So the instructions will be there for all of this, but we're doing a much smaller version of this Santa. And I see his eyes are more almond shaped here than they are here. So you could adjust that. But I painted that for me and I just loved it, so I thought, well, I'm going to do a lesson on it. So let's get back in here to the hat, and I'm going to mix some black, just a little bit of black, with my deep burgundy, and it will make like a dark, rich burgundy color. Get some water in my brush so I'll be able to move my paint. And flip it around, and we're just going to deepen all of these places that we put our first mop brush. I'm going to mop that a little bit, kind of take some of that off and soften it. I haven't used my mop brush much on this video, but I usually use it a lot. I use it dry when I need to clean it, which I clean it after every time that I use it. I go to a damp place on my paper towel and get the paint off of the ends of it, and then I go to a dry place and dry it, and it's ready to use again. So if you get it wet, you'll have to have another one handy because it'll take a little bit to dry. Clean it and dry it immediately. Get in that habit, and then it will be, you know, just second nature. Alright, let's go around this. A little bit more here. It's outer edge. Now if you go over into your background, you can very easily touch that up with black paint. More in here. Definitely need some water. I like to go into my clean water when I am building my float on my brush, because if you go into your dirty water, it can create a little bit of a shadow on your project, and you don't really want that. Let's go ahead and shade next to where we're going to put the ball. I'm going to come up a little bit with this float because I don't really know how fluffy I'll make my ball here when I get it painted on, so I want to make sure I've got enough shadow up here on the top. That's pretty sloppy, so I'm going to mop that. Here and darken this a little bit. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Well, let's get ready to add our highlight on here. Terra Coral. Let's see, Terra Coral. And I didn't have this paint listed on my list, so I need to make sure it is, but cherry red we'll need. Okay, we're going to highlight with Terra Coral. And I'm going to mix some Tuscan red in with it because I felt like it was a little bit chalky on my original one. So generally, I always use an orange when I am highlighting on my red, but this I wanted to have a little bit different look. Oop, that's very tight on that edge, and I'm not liking that, so I'm going to get a little bit more paint and water on my brush so I can really widen that. That's awful pink. Add some more of that Terra Coral in there. Mop brush. Pull that out. And very gently mop it. And that will help that look much better. Go up here. Fade away there. And then we can go up on this part of the hat. Kind of bring that over. That's a lot of the hat showing there. Got a lot of water in my brush, so it's really gonna lighten that float right there. This part of the float right here. And we'll put a little bit over here. Work and some more into my brush here. Kind of ran out of paint. We won't see probably hardly any of that right there because it's going to be covered up with hair. So this is where you can decide if you want to brighten any highlights by adding a second layer on here, maybe just on the very highest points. You could add some color. Just darken. That'll do it for the shading and highlighting on the hat, and although I think right here I might deepen that shading just a tiny bit because I need it to come out just a little bit farther. Okay, where was that? Right here. Looks pretty good for his hat right there. Okay, so now with the hat, what I like to do on my reds is take some cherry red, and we're going to create a tinting of water to cover this. I want to show you, this is my mop brush before I clean it. I'm going to take it to a wet place on a paper towel, clean it off, dry it off. So now it's clean, ready to go. So we're going to make a glaze. Let me get a flat brush here. A glaze, a wash, whatever you want to call it. We're going to take our cherry red, and I got a lot of water in my brush. And we're going to make a wash out here. We need enough to cover our hat, so I'm going to make a little bit more. And that still probably won't be enough, so a little bit more. Alright, so I got a nice wash of cherry red, so I'm going to go over the whole hat with our cherry red wash. I might have to make some more, I'm not sure I made enough. And this will really brighten our red. Because I wanted it to be bright. I just didn't want to use cherry red as a base coat because cherry red's already a pretty transparent color. So it would have taken a lot of coats of cherry red to get opaqueness. Okay, that looks much better. And you can put as many washes of cherry red on your hat as you want to. Generally one is enough for me, but sometimes I'll have to put 2 on there. Okay, so I need the hat to get completely dry now. We can transfer on our holly leaves on here. And I think we will work on the beard next. We'll do, let's see, now we'll work on the holly leaves next because some of the hairs on the beard might come up over onto the holly. So we're going to work on the holly leaves on here next. Alrighty, whew, got all my holly painted in. Okay, now that was a job. I may make a holly stencil, different sizes that you can just put on here and go with that, because you guys might be mad at me by the time you get over to here. It's like, oh my lord, why did she put so many holly berries on there? Okay, we have our leaf green out, so while we have it out, before we start adding any detail on here, I'm going to get some plantation pine out too. We'll I'll be using that to shade with in a minute. And I'm going to grab my liner brush. And we're going to create a vine here. I'm going to mix the two colors so I get a more medium. See if it'll show up on here. And we're just going to put your vine wherever you want. More dark of the dark paint. Thin some down here so I don't want it to flow off of my brush very well. This is leaf green. And we can just add some little viney stuff going. Ooh. It's really fat. We don't want really fat. Just remove some of that. I don't know how much of that you've been on camera for, so let me wide angle out a little bit so you can see the whole project. Just use one or the other. The dark green, the plantation, is that what it is? Dark forest green, may not show up as well as the leaf green if you use it by itself. So just be aware of that. Just give a wiggle and a squiggle. And just put a few in there. This is just kind of connecting them. So I think I might have got too many holly leaves over here on this side, so we're just going to kind of leave it right there with those because it's just kind of added stuff in there. My original one, I didn't connect them, and then after I got it all varnished and everything, I thought, oh, maybe I should have kind of connected those holly to make them look a little bit better. Not just like they're floating on his head. Alright, I'm going to go back to my small angle brush here, 1/4 inch. I am going to work on a group of leaves, probably this group right here. And I'll finish these 4 for you, and all the rest of them will be exactly the same. So we will shade with black forest green, and we'll highlight with some olive green, and add our detail on there with olive green, our veins with olive green as well. So with the black forest green, we're just going to shade. Kind of goes over this one like that. I'm going to shade at the base, or whatever I consider the base, so you can choose yours however you want. Try and keep this on camera here. Need some water in my brush. Smaller brushes do not carry paint or water very far, very long, very much. So you have to go back and reload your brush frequently. So we're going to do the bases. Let's see, did I come? I just did the bases of them. I tried to keep these kind of simple because there's so many of them. So we're going to shade just the base of them. Try not to get into my red there. can repeat. Oh, I just cannot keep enough water in this little brush. I'll repeat this. Okay. Then for highlighting, we're just going to go in and highlight a few tips. Well, I did say to shade down the center. Let me get some black out because my instructions say to mix a little bit of black in it with the second shading. Make it a little more like a black green. And I did have on there to shade down the center, but you do not have to do this if you don't want to. Down the center. Creating a center vein here. Okay, so now I'm going to get a little bit of teeny tiny little dot of black. Touch it to my palette like we did earlier, and then blend it into my green to make a black green. So this will actually be your second shading, is with the black green. So I'll just go ahead and put a little bit on here since I've already shaded it twice. I want to be sure and follow my directions. Okay, so with the highlight, we're just going to highlight on the tips. So just go on a tip here. Now olive green is pretty bright, but it will fade back in there. Goodness. I wasn't going to go all the way around the leaf like that, but that's how it ended up. So I'm just going to go like this. Whoop. Or not. I tell you what, I'm having a struggle here. I shouldn't have taken a break and eaten supper. Nothing but struggles. Alright. Go in, edit. Goodness. Okay, that is just not the best looking example of leaves that I could make for you for sure. And then we'll take our olive green and thin it down. And we'll create our vein. So that's pretty much what we're going to do on every single leaf. Yep, every leaf is done that way, and then we'll come back and add berries on top of that, you know, in and around them. So let's get all of our leaves done. I'm going to go off camera and finish all the leaves because it's going to take me a few minutes to do it, so I'll be back. Okay, I've got all my leaves done, so now I'm putting the undercoat or whatever for the berries. This is Georgia clay. And again, you'll probably hate me for all the berries I put in here, so you can pick and choose how many berries you put in yours. If you don't want very many in there, then don't put very many in there. I like a lot of berries. I like a lot of leaves, as you can tell. So just have fun with it. We're going going to come in here when we get done and erase all of our graphite lines that we didn't cover up. Okay, so that's my first coat on my berries, but that's not the actual color that I want them to be. I want them to be Tangelo orange, so I'm going to go over them with Tangelo orange. Now, if you have one of those dotting tools, you can put them in with that, but the paint comes off on the dotting tools a little bit thick, and it takes so long to dry that if you just base coat them in with a small round brush, by the time you get all the way to the other side of Santa, this side will be dry. Just a C stroke and a backward C stroke. I'm not sure what that's called. If it's a bigger berry, then you can just fill in. But usually when you do a C stroke and a backward C stroke, that takes care of the whole berry. Now on my other project, my other Santa, he was pretty big, so I was able to actually shade the berries with a angle brush. I can miss some up here. There's our berries on there. Oh, that's looking so cute. We'll get his beard and everything on there. He's just going to be the cutest Santa ever. Okay, so for the berries, you can use an angle brush, flat brush, curve flat, whatever brush you like to use. I'm going to use just a flat brush because I just feel like I can get it holds paint a little bit better than an angle brush. So I'm just going to pick a side and put a little bit of deep burgundy on one side. So, and this should be another thing that should go fairly quickly because you can do several berries at once, before you have to reload. And you can pick whatever side you like for the shading color. I'll fill that berry up there. If you start filling your berries up and you feel like the paint's going over too far, then it's time to wash your brush out and reload it. You should have the smallest amount of paint on your brush on the very tippy toe of that. See, I don't have hardly any paint on there. Just enough to get the job done. You can even go in and put a little bit of some of this deep burgundy on your leaves. I did not do that, but if you want to do that, that would be, need some water in my brush here. Okay, then after you get your deep burgundy on, take a look at them and see if any of them need a second coat. And you can go back and do that. We're just going to put a quick little highlight on here. We're going to put some glamour dust on these. Really make them pop. Okay, that's done. I was not too careful about that at all, so mostly because I'm in a hurry. I don't want my video to be forever long. So now we're just going to take a little highlight of Snow White, pop a little highlight on there. You don't have to do every berry. You can skip a few. Try to keep it on the highlight side. Okay. Now let's erase our graphite lines. I put some kind of random graphite lines in here for where I want to put my vine. So, and then erase around your leaves if you didn't go all the way out to the line that you put there for them. Brush away from your paint. Okay. I think I got everything. Give it a quick little once over and make sure. I don't want any of that graphite being stuck in my project. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, we're gonna bling up our berries here because it's a Christmas project. I have to have sparkle. That's just all there is to it. So we're gonna put some Glamour Dust Ice Crystal on our berries. And I like to put 2 to 3 coats. So I'm gonna put 1 coat on here, and then after I do a little work on the mustache and beard, I'll probably come back and put another coat on here. And depending on how sparkly I want them, I might put a 3rd coat on here. I mean, 1 coat gives it the sparkle, that's for sure, but I like mine to really sparkle. I think on my main one I only did 2 coats. So we'll see what kind of mood I'm in for this one. And it goes really fast. If you do a bigger one like I did on my other one and use the snowflakes, this is what I put on the snowflakes. So I'll have all the instructions for the snowflakes. I'll have a picture of both projects so you can choose which one you'd like to do. Okay, we're going to start working on the beard. The ball on the hat will do probably last. So we're going to start by putting on slate gray. So with this color, we're just going to take a big brush. This is going to be kind of an undercoat. We don't have to be too precise about this. We're just going to get some dark gray in here. We don't have to cover up all of our black. We don't have to cover up all of our skin. We do want to be careful around our hat though. It's okay if you go over the ball because we're going to be putting that in. So I'm just very loosely applying some slate gray on here. This is like the undercoat of our beard. And we'll just have his beard come all the way down here. So underneath here we'll pull some down. To a smaller brush to do the mustache, I think. Now, on my bigger one, I'm going to bring it over here so you can see it. I brought his beard up over the end of the hat and behind him. So I probably will do that again. So I'm going to put some of this gray down here. Bring it over this way. We don't want to confine his beard so much right there in that little space, and I'll have some coming from around, so I'll put a little bit of gray back in here. Okay, so I'm going to get a smaller brush so I can do the mustache. Still need to get all the paint on that brush. Alrighty. So, water on my ferrule. Don't want that. That'll cause a big mess. So right here on his nose, it's going to go up. This is going to come around this way. And I have it going up and coming off of this way. And we'll have hair over here. Coming up a little bit too much on the nose, so I'm going to have to clean that off. I'll have some hair over here. Alright, let me clean off his nose there. I got some gray on the end of his nose. Take the red off. I'm going to have to put that red back on there. Okay, let me try. Get a small brush to do that up by the nose. Yeah, I'm going to have to redo that nose. I'm just going to take a little bit of this deep burgundy that I have here and really thin it down. Kind of touch up that nose. There we go. think his cheeks could be a lot darker, but I'm not going back over and doing them glasses again. So that's our initial gray that we're going to put on there. Okay, got all my holly and berries done. Santa is looking pretty good, I think. Now that we're starting to get more detail in here, look how his eyes just pop. Oh my gosh. Looks great. Okay, we are going to work on the beard now, and we're going to use filbert rakes, or rake brushes. So rake brushes come in every brand and all different styles. You just need to find one that you like, and you can, use whatever brand. There's no specific brand. I list the brand that I generally use in my packet, but mine is just a guideline. Always just a guideline. I want you to use what you feel comfortable using. So they come in filbert size. This is filbert style. This is a filbert one, and this is a filbert one. Two completely different brands. This one has really long bristles on it. And this one on the tip, you can't see how it feathers out there at the end as well, but when you load it, it does. And then this one is a flat rake. It's got pretty long ones on the end. And then this particular one I do sell on my website, and it's got some long ones on the end, and it's a smaller one, so we can kind of use it up here and kind of get on the side here. And I will also be using a round brush, or probably a 1 or a 2 round to do some detail up here in the mustache and final hairs. I think I'm gonna just pick one of these brushes. We get it wet with water. We got to wake it up, so I'm going to fill it full of water. And generally I go to my paper towel and get all the moisture out of the brush, but we don't want the moisture out this time. We're going to take our brush and pull some paint out and kind of load it in there. I'm going to wipe the ferrule off though, because I don't want that water running down. We're going to have a pretty wet paint here. So when we stroke, we'll be able to get up on the tip of the brush and stroke some hairs onto our Santa. Now, we have already, this is slate gray, and we've already applied this color on here. So this is just going to be starting to add some detail. And before I go too far on my beard, I am going to go paint the ball so that we can have it on, and we'll just have to come back and touch it up and add some shading on there. So I'm just going to put a couple more strokes of these in here. Your beard can go whatever direction you want it to go. If the paint does not flow off of your brush, then you probably need to add a little bit more water, but you got to stay up on the tip of the brush a little bit. So I'm going to wash that out, and let me get the paint out for the ball. Let me find it. Warm beige. We're going to tap in with some warm beige. Now I just use a scruffy brush for this. I've cleaned this one that I dry brushed with, so I think I'll just use it. So our warm beige, which used to be flesh tone, so we'll get that out. And let's see, what other colors will we use? We'll use white and asphaltum. Asphaltum is what I used in the other project with the paper in my main project. But those instructions will be in the packet as well. So, okay, so we're going to tap into, I'm just using this dry. You can use it wet, it won't hurt. If it's wet, it will be fine. Some loose hairs in there. Alright, I'm just going to tap this in here. decide how big I want the ball on his hat to be. Losing some more hairs here. These scruffy brushes lose hairs. So just be prepared for that. That seems like a pretty nice size for the end of his hat. So I'm going to tap a little bit more of this color on there. While I lose some more hairs. Goodness, I never had one of these brushes lose so many hairs. So you just use whatever brush that you have that's an old, you know, scruffy type brush. It doesn't have to be anything good. I'm going to get a little bit of white on my brush, kind of tap it in there. And we'll probably want to keep the white up here on this edge. And it's blending with that paint that's underneath it, so we'll come back and definitely darken that. And I'll tip some asphaltum on the other side, opposite of where I put the white, and we'll put this down here. And again, it's blending with paint that's on my brush, so we'll let this dry. I'll clean my brush out so when I come back I can start with a pretty fresh brush. I wanted it to look like a fur, kind of like fur, not so much like, you know, just the white kind that we normally see on a ball of a hat. So I'm going to clean that out, set it aside. I've got a little hair in there. I'm going to try and get that out. Okay, back to the beard. I'm going to go ahead and go into some of the gray sky. So again, water in your brush, pull some paint out and mix the water in with the paint. Load your brush up. If you've got a lot of water in it, you might want to try and squeeze some of that out on your palette paper. And then I'm going to go touch my paper towel because I feel like I have tons in here. And then we'll just start adding some stir. I'm not too worried about how they look at first because this is just like laying in the groundwork. Because I will have several layers on here. This one is just kind of come over the ball. Put some over here. I think I might tape off on that edge right there. So his beard should come up a little bit higher here. A little bit of that darker gray and stick up here. So we can make it look like the beard's coming from up here. Okay, I'm going to wash this brush out because I want to tape the edge of this hat off here. I'm not going to worry about that side because that's the side we're going to be coming over with the hair, but we're coming from behind on this side. So I'm going to grab, you can use, if you have Scotch tape and you can fit it along that edge, that would be fine. But I'm going to use some of my artist tape here. So I sell this too if you have need of it. It's a stretchy tape. Mine is 1/4 of an inch wide. So I'm going to go right along the red. I really didn't need a piece quite that big. Let me try that again. I'm not going to worry about getting stuff on the ball because we're going to come back and finish it later so we can paint over anything we get on there. But I'm not getting right on my red there, so let me turn it this way and see if I can pull it against me. Okay, that's better. So I'm just going to push that down right there. Now it's going to look weird seeing that piece of green there, but it'll all be good. Okay, I'm going back to my gray sky. And I'm going to put some more in here. Put more water in it. And then I'm going to go to my smaller brush here in a second and work on the mustache. Ooh, that's really thick. I don't want the hair is quite that thick there. Right here, they'll come straight down from the lip and then they'll curve this way and this way to kind of start forming some of the beard. Once you get going with this, it's a pretty quick process of putting the beard in. Okay, a bit more here. Okay, I'm going to rinse that out and set it aside because I'm going to use it again on the white. I'm going to grab my small one, which is a 1/4 inch one, I believe. Yeah, 1/4 inch. And I'm also going to have my small round handy. Okay, I'm going to take some of this gray sky, load this brush up, and I'm going to stroke some coming from here, starting to form his mustache. Bring some of this hair down here. We're going to have some hairs coming from around his face. So I'll probably just use the round brush on that because that's a little thick. I have to be careful there because I'll remove my cheek color. Alright, let me do the other side of the mustache. Stay up on the tip of the brush and just gently stroke. Try and make sure his mustache looks fairly uniform here. Okay, I'm going to stroke some of this gray down here. This is the gray sky. Need to get up a little bit closer to his lip here. I don't really want to see that skin color. Stay off the lip. Just tap some in there. Okay, there we go. Alright, so you can decide when you think you've got enough of this particular gray in here. This is the light gray, the gray sky. It's got a little thick. I turned my brush on its side, so it kind of thickened out right there at the end. I'll cover them up with some white. Okay, and white is what we're going to use next. Oh, he's looking so good, so good. Okay, so same thing. Take some water and pull some white out and thin it down a little bit. Now the white we will layer many times. And at any point, if you feel like you've lost any of your colors underneath, you can just go back in and stroke them back in, and then put some more white on top. See, like on my original one, I wanted it super white, but you can still see some of the gray underneath. So most of the gray is ultimately covered up, but we can still see quite a bit of it. Alright, so I've got white on my brush now. I'm going to start up here. Too much water in my brush. So take some of that out and load up with a little bit more paint. Now I don't have enough water. Start down here so I can make some bigger strokes. See how it's going to flow. All of the rake brushes work pretty much the same, so you don't have to. I'm just going kind of back and forth, turning it this way, swooping it this way. Come off up here to go on my smaller one, I think. I'll work on my smaller one up there because I might just get a little too carried away there. So you'll put as many layers of the white on as you want. If you like more gray in the beard, you want Santa to have more gray than white, then that's perfectly fine. We're going to go up and put some of this in the eyebrows as well, so don't forget about your eyebrows. A little bit of water, a little bit of paint. Okay, I'm going to go to my small one. And I think before I go too much farther, I'm going to get some hairs in the eyebrows. Go to my gray sky. Just stroke a few in there. Thin my paint just a little bit. Alright, and with this brush I'm going to go into some white. Stroke a few here. This is with my round brush. And I'm going to go back into my lighter gray and pull a few hairs in around his face. So we're going to have some hair coming up from here. Got water all over my arm. So we'll have some coming up here. A little flip of the hair there. A little thinner paint will be helpful. And then we'll bring some coming down this way and kind of swooping up. You can have it come down as far on the forehead as you like. Some hair coming down. We're going to be putting white on here, so we'll get it all nice and light. Alright, then come around the side of the head here. If you want some hairs coming out here. A few coming out over here. I'm going to start them around where the glasses are. Put some kind of coming out from around there. So you can have some peeking out from around the hat on that side. Alright, I'm going to go into some white now. Stroke some of this in the eyebrows. Got some wiry eyebrows here. Bushy, wiry eyebrows. We'll go back and shade underneath it when we're done. But again, we will put more than one layer on here. Okay, let me get my small rake brush. I want to rake in a little bit of the white on his mustache, and then I'm going to finish the rest of it with my round brush here. You gotta have enough water in your paint to get it to just flow right off the tip of this brush. You don't want to have it too thin, but it won't flow at all if you don't have water in the brush. So, and I think I'll use this brush to put a little bit down here. Stay with this brush for a little bit so I can get some little more hairs on the sides over here. Add some more with my big one here, down on the bottom with white. It's a layering process. You just keep layering until you are happy with it. My finishing hairs will all be done with the round brush. And maybe a liner, I don't know. Probably just stick with the round brush because I can get up on the tip of it pretty good. Just continue on, up on the tip, inky consistency paint. I'm going to let that layer dry and get my round brush back and work on some white up here. Oh, he's looking cute as can be. I am just loving this Santa. Alright, got some coming out from around here. Have a few coming up over on the face. And then these are kind of going down, so we'll go ahead and put them down right here, coming off of the face, and then we'll go over that with our mustache when we finish our mustache. Okay, I'm going to use this brush to start adding some detail on the mustache. So we're going to shape follow. And then just start trying to, if you want them to be a little more wiry looking, you can kind of wiggle your brush and have some flipping out. Sure this mustache meets here. We'll shade in there to kind of separate it, but for now we want to make sure we know which side is going which direction. I'm staying up on the tip of this brush. I'm still using that inky consistency paint. So because it's inky consistency, it will fade back in there. Layer on his eyebrows. brush there. When I'm going this direction, for some reason, it's much easier for me to pull towards me, so. Okay, I'm going to take this brush and start coming down and pulling some little more controlled hairs out here. Give his beard a little bit more fluff and movement, not so stiff. And again, it doesn't really matter on the ball here what we do yet, because we're going to be painting over that. We'll come back after we finish painting, redoing the ball and adding some hairs over it. Go to the side and do the same thing. Up on the tip of the brush, a little wiggle as you pull the brush, and that will give you some movement. Inky consistency is so important to get those hairs that are coming off that are having some movement. They still feel a little stiff over here to me. Okay, I think I might stay with my round brush and start adding a layer with this brush. So I'm going to give bigger strokes here. And you can go to a bigger round, or you can stay with the rake brush and just keep applying layers with the rake brush. I might go back to it and apply a few layers, or maybe go to a larger round. But if you like your beard more straight without so much curly stuff in it, then that's just fine. He is your Santa after all. I want you to be happy with him and how he looks. keep layering. We are almost done with him. The beard and the ball is all we have left. So when you're using the round and you load up more straight paint without it being thinned down, you can get these little curlies in here. And I might layer another layer with the rake brush. I have a lot more gray showing through here than I want to have. I want his beard to look mostly white. Alright, stroke some more on his mustache. I think his mustache is growing every time I put some strokes on it. I think it gets bigger. Does seem to be growing. Okay, back up here at the top. This all needs brightened up, and I think I forgot to put white strokes over here a while ago. That's just some little soft fluff coming out. Stay up on the tip, you get those nice, fine, soft hairs. But you can go down and use a detail liner if you need a detail liner to help you get those finer lines on there. Oh, he's looking so cute. So cute. Alright. I'm going to put just a few more strokes in here, and then I'm going to look at him and see how I think he looks. I think he's looking pretty good. He's a little bit dark still on this side, so... Ooh, fun, fun, fun. Love painting Christmas designs. I've had this pattern setting in my sketchbook for months, and I have been tweaking and retweaking and could not wait to paint him. Just couldn't wait. I knew he was going to turn out just cute as can be. Put a little bit more over here. I feel like it's still kind of dark. I like for his beard to be white. And you can do this with the rake brush. You know, you don't have to do it with a small round like I'm doing, because it does require a little bit more time to do it with the round brush. But I like how it gives the look of individual hairs when I use the round brush as opposed to just groups of hair. You know, do a lot more. Alright, let me take a look at him. I don't want to see any straight lines in here, because I don't want his beard to be straight. Oh, what a soft beard Santa has. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit more on his eyebrows because I really want them to be super white. I'll come back and shade underneath his eyebrows, I think. I want to make sure both of his eyebrows match there. This one looks a little bit bushier, so I'll pull a few more hairs up here. Make it a little bushier and wirier. Pretty good for his hair. Alright, so we need a shade underneath his mustache and lip. I'll probably shade a little bit around the ball, so I'll take this off. And we'll go back and paint the ball back in, so I can let it dry a little bit. So I'm going with my base color here. Alright, gonna get some white. Wipe that off because I have a lot of white. Go into some of that asphaltum. Tap this lots of chunkies there. And I like the chunkies. Thought that was thick paint till it wouldn't move. Goodness, that's a lot of chunks. Alright, I completely lost my base color here. Wash it out. Get some of the water out of it. I'm just going to go into that falling on the table here. You know, I only give myself about 5 inches to paint. I want it to be fluffy. Come back in and add the white back in here in a minute. I'm going to let it dry just a little bit so it won't lift that paint. Okay, where was I? Oh, I'm going to shade underneath the eyebrows and float underneath the beard. So under the beard we're going to use some gray sky, I think. Or the mustache, not the beard. Underneath the lip. And underneath this side of the mustache. Kind of pulls that forward a little bit. Go a little bit around the ball here, just for a shadow down here on this edge. We're going to pull some hairs along the top, so it kind of gives a little bit of a shadow there. Alright, let's see if I can finish this top here. I'd like for my table to stop turning, so let me lock that down. Make sure my brush is dry. And I'll pick up a little bit of white. Really work that into my brush. I just want to highlight with the white. Okay, that looks pretty good. You don't need very much white on there at all, so really you can just base coat it with the base color, which is what was it? Warm beige or flesh tone, whatever you have. It's the same thing. Underneath the eyes, we're going to go with that warm beige. Kind of clean up. Actually, I'm going to use the deep blush. Kind of mix it with that warm beige. If I can get some coming out of the bottle. There we go. I'll work that into my brush really good because I don't want it to be super dark. I just want to clean up. Here if we need to, put a little bit kind of around the hairline or where we brought the hair down. You can put some of that in there. Like a little bit of a shadow on this forehead. Okay. pretty good. Last thing to do, we're almost done, is to pull some hairs. Some hair kind of coming over onto the ball. Just a few. We don't have to put tons on there. Still need just a few over here. I'm seeing a line and I don't want to see a line. Some fresh paint out, I think. Okay, I think he's looking pretty darn good. Okay, I'm just checking him over. See if there's any place else I want to touch up or add some strokes. Maybe one over here. My paint is definitely drying up, so I think it's time for me to just be done. So I think I will call him a done Santa. I'm so excited. Let me wide angle out so you can see him. Oh my gosh, he turned out absolutely fabulous. Fabulous. Let me get them side by side so you can see them. Bring the big one in. Use my papers. Okay, there we go. This one's been varnished already, so it's got a shine. Plus, once you varnish it, it will really make this red pop out so much. His eyes are shaped more like an almond, a little more open at the top. The bottom is very much the same, but the top, I opened them up a little bit bigger here on this big piece. But this one aside, because this is the one that we'll be painting. So I want you to see him up front and center. And you can add snowflakes onto this one as well if you want some snowflakes on there. But I like him just like this with his background and all his Santa names back in here, and his little sparkle on his berries. I think I just put 2 coats on there. I don't think I did 3. I think I just did 2, which is unusual because usually I do 3. Okay. I enjoyed painting this with you so much. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you paint it. I hope that you post pictures, because I love seeing when someone paints one of my projects. So thank you so much for painting with me, and I will see you guys on the next one.